What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. Please use them, that is what they're there for. And don't forget, you can support the channel either through YouTube membership with that join button down below, or over on Patreon if you choose to do so. Never any pressure, of course. We're in hard financial times. Never pressure yourself to support a YouTuber. But a huge thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. Time is extremely important, and for you to dedicate a part of your day to this channel is absolutely amazing of you, so do not forget that. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for reporting my child's teacher after her rude email to me? My son is in 5th grade and he is attending online school. I catch him all the time with his computer muted and playing a video game. I do what I can, but ultimately this is the teacher's fault. My son has ADHD and anxiety, so he needs constant stimuli in order to stay focused, and this teacher is clearly not engaging enough. The teacher, in my opinion, is not old enough to be trusted with the responsibility of teaching. She looks like she's in her 20s. I've reached out to her multiple times and she's only told me to check in on him, keep him on track, etc. But I do all of that and he still seems to be failing. She asked if I would like to take time out of my schedule to come up with a plan, to which I responded she should be doing her job and coming up with a plan on her own. I'm quite out of patience with this teacher. Last night I sent yet another email to her drawing attention to the issue. This morning I had a very rude response from her which read, "I am tired of receiving emails from you regarding this. I've tried telling you this politely, but this message hasn't seemed to get to you. This is your issue. I cannot do anything when he mutes his microphone, and he is failing because he does not pay attention in class and turns in less than half of his work, most of which is incomplete anyway. I've reached out to you with solutions and you have refused to cooperate. You need to take control in your own home and put a stop to this behaviour, because I can only do so much." She was judging my ability as a parent when she is clearly not a parent herself. I was at the absolute end of my rope with her, and I wrote an email to the principal explaining what had happened. He responded that he'd look into the matter. Am I the arsehole for doing this? My husband tells me I'm making too much of an issue out of this, but he doesn't understand. He isn't home during the school day. Now, we all know we're in tough times at the minute with lockdowns going on and the children having to stay at home and everyone's having to play their part. But for you to blame the teacher in this situation is absolutely ridiculous. This is a discipline issue, for one, that you can't control in your own house. And yes, I do understand that this child has ADHD, but at the same time, do they expect this, teacher to have a one-on-one all day with this one particular child? Because they're probably managing a whole bunch of children at the same time. And believe me, I know 3 teachers in my family who's doing this exact same thing. And one of them works part-time, so they work two and a half days a week, right? But because of all these issues that's going on, they're putting 7 days in. I go around there sometimes, like when we need to talk about my dad and stuff, so I am respecting sort of the rules and regulations and things. And they are just full on working constantly, planning, and they're having to make video recordings and edit the videos too. They're trying to get me involved, but I don't want no part of that. And they're just putting so much work in right now. For you to downplay that is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. And you know, this teacher offered you some solutions to work with her, to have a meetup and work with her, but you refuse because you think it's all down to them because they're the teacher. They're not babysitters. I hate it when people like this, entitled parents like this, we're going down the entitled parents route here, guys, think that, teachers are there to babysit their children. Totally wrong. You are the arsehole in this situation, in my opinion. Cypher Max says, "You're the arsehole. Parents need to parent their kids." Whatever next. The teacher is not present. You are. Parent your child. And then quotes, "He isn't home during the school day." Sounds like he's about as present as you. And then Billy says, and quotes, "I do what I can, but ultimately this is the teacher's fault. My son has ADHD and anxiety, so he needs constant stimuli in order to stay focused, and this teacher is clearly not engaging enough." And then says, "You're not serious, are you? You have a special needs child and you're going to blame his teacher for not focusing on your child more than the others." Which is exactly what would have to happen. Source, "I was a child with ADHD, anxiety, depression and IED. Yes, the teacher has a job to engage her students, but your kid isn't the be all and end all of that class. If he needs extra attention, you'd better be there to give it. And quotes again, the teacher in my opinion is not old enough to be trusted with the responsibility of teaching. Then says, in my opinion, you're not smart enough to be a parent. See how opinions work? We all got them, and they mean pretty much nothing. And quotes once again, she asked if I would like to take the time out of my schedule to come up with a plan, to which I responded she should be doing her job and come up with a plan on her own. Then says, how dare she ask you to spend time focusing on how to make your child's education richer for him after you establish that his mental health makes it harder for him to stay focused. Never mind, I'm with you now. The audacity of these teachers expecting the parents to, shudder, care about their kids. Gross. /sarcasm. And quotes one more time, I cannot do anything when he mutes his microphone and he is failing because he does not pay attention in class and turns in less than half his work, most of which is incomplete anyway. I've reached out to you with solutions and you have refused to cooperate. Then says, yep, this teacher is definitely a piece of work. You mean to tell me she can't hack into his computer and put his mic back on, and she can't use that teacher telepathy and force your kid to work? How did she even get a job? And what, is she implying that it's his fault he doesn't do his work? Doesn't she know that mental health is the god of all excuses, and that having any sort of mental health problems means you don't have to do any work you don't want to do ever? Consequence free. She should never be allowed to teach again. And more sarcasm. And quotes the last time. She was judging my ability as a parent when she is clearly not a parent herself. And then says, you're judging her ability as a teacher when you're clearly not a teacher yourself. She's not the only one judging you as a parent, by the way. You're the arsehole in so many different ways that it would be funny if your child wasn't going to be fucked for life for having a toxically enabling mother. Absolutely too true, and I agree with all of that. But now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think about the situation? What do you think about OP? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Autumn Landish. Am I the arsehole for not allowing my roommate to bring her boyfriend over at our shared house? I'm a Muslim girl, 19 female, and me and my classmate, let's call her Ashley, 19 female, have been living together for a while now. Both of us decided to rent an apartment together, but before that I made it clear to Ashley that no men will be allowed in our home. If she wants to live with me, she needs to abide by that rule. If she doesn't, I will simply move out from the apartment. Recently she became really adamant about bringing her boyfriend to live with us in our apartment. She has been threatening me that she will leave the apartment if I don't let him to our home. And I said I have no problem moving out, she can rent it together with her boyfriend, but apparently Ashley's boyfriend does not have the money to rent with her, nor can she afford renting the place alone. She's been pressuring me to agree with her, but living with a man under the same room who is not a family member is simply impossible for me. I told her straight cut that I will be moving out next week. She and her boyfriend can decide what they want to do next, it's none of my business. The people around me have been telling me that I'm being too harsh on her. It wouldn't be a big deal if I let them live with us. I'm simply being overly sensitive. It shouldn't be a problem if my parents don't know about it. Joke's on them. I don't cover myself because my parents told me to, but rather because I want to. Has been that long since I moved abroad for higher studies, my English might be dodgy. Am I the arsehole here? Should I have compromised with her? And then says, edit, thank you for all the replies. In order to clear some things up, I did say she could bring people when I am not at home. I have part-time jobs and during that time she could bring men in, but she has to make sure it does not align with me being home. She's requested this after we moved in together. I thought as long as I'm not home it shouldn't pose a problem, but then she started bringing him over even when I am home and then dropped the bomb of living together. Now I personally think this is a very simple one, simply because at the very start you specified that you don't want any men under the roof, and you even gave compromises later on in the story saying like, if you're not home then she can have men round. But while you're under the roof, you don't want any men in there, and you said this from the very start, which was agreed upon. So you're definitely not the arsehole in this situation, and you know, you said you'd happily move out, you've given plenty of compromises. Just because a boyfriend can't afford anything, it's not your problem, right? Stuff them and move out in my opinion, and just live a happy life. Electricolo says, not the arsehole, you made the conditions clear before moving in together, she can't change the rules now. Mandarionette says, not the arsehole, you told her clearly what to expect before you moved in with her. She has no right to break the rules, plus you're under no obligation to accept the third person in the flat you live in and pay for. Many girls who are not religious would not accept to have their roommate's boyfriend move in either, simply because it takes space and because living alone with a couple can be annoying. Wary Strategy says 100% not the arsehole. There is no need for you to be forced to live with anyone you don't want to, regardless of your reasons. You've been clear and you've offered an alternative. The only slight issue might be about notice. A week ain't long, and what contract are you under? Don't you have to give more notice than that to get removed from the tenancy? But apart from the details around how, the actual decision to move out does not make you the arsehole. Jumpy Ad says, whoa Nelly. She wants to bring a freeloader into your home. No thanks. Losing privacy and having higher bills. What the actual fuck? Muslim or non-Muslim, this is a no-brainer. No fucking way. And Miley30 says, you're not an A for wanting your roommate to stick to the agreement you made and were clear about before moving in together. Info, is your name on the lease? If so, how are you planning to handle your financial commitment for the remainder of the lease term? And OP replied to this saying, I don't actually have much time left. Both of us were supposed to renew our lease terms within the next 3 weeks. I did say I will move out the next week, but I suppose I will wait until my lease term ends. And I think that sounds absolutely like the right thing to do. 3 weeks is not that long. Just put up with her shit for that long, and then, you know, she's going to screw herself in the end, pretty much. But what would you do in this situation if you was OP and, you know, your roommate started bringing their boyfriend and girlfriend around all the time and you wasn't happy with it? Would you just move out, or would you deal with it in a different way? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story is from Mysterious Salt. Am I the arsehole for tricking my soon-to-be ex-husband into letting me adopt his son? I met my husband when I was 21. In the wake of his first wife's death, she had died during childbirth, and I just lost my best friend. We met at a grief support group, we became friends, and I became a regular part of his life. Our relationship was strictly platonic for 2 years. During this time he seriously dated another woman, but the relationship didn't work out. I was already part of his family in a way, and I loved his son Jay. A few months after the breakup we started dating. We moved really fast and were married within a few months. Once we were married, with his first wife's parents' blessings, I took on a more active role with Jay. By the time he was 3, I took on the role as his mother. He was bonded to me like he was born out of my own womb. I started feeling those mama bear instincts around him. He called me mum. 3 years go by and we start having problems in our marriage. I then found out that my husband had been having a full-blown year-long affair with the ex. I found out that she'd even gotten pregnant but then had a miscarriage. Their plan was to be together, but the miscarriage led to the breakdown of their relationship. I confronted him, he accepted and asked for forgiveness. He swore that he was in a dark place and promised to be better. We slept in separate bedrooms for 6 months and finally reconciled successfully. For the last 4 years our relationship has been perfect. For him, he's put the affair behind us, but I wasn't honest about my feelings. The truth was, I was bidding my time to make my exit plan and get his first wife's parents to cooperate with me. I then ploughed a vow renewal ceremony where I officially asked my husband the permission to adopt his son. Again, my son's maternal grandparents were in on the loop. I filed for divorce the day after the adoption became official. My husband thinks I've played a long con and deceived him. I think I did my part to protect my relationship with my son. I had no other option but to wait a few more years to leave because I didn't want the court system to create any problem with the adoption. Am I the arsehole? I just want to make it clear I have no intention of stealing his son away. We will have equal custody. I had no intention of staying in the marriage, but I lied because I didn't want to lose Jay in an eventual divorce. Edit 2. In my divorce petition, we have already stated that the divorce was already in the works and I adopted him right before I filed for divorce because I raised Jay as his mother and I wanted to establish myself as his legal parent in the wake of the dissolution of our marriage. His maternal grandparents are also fully behind me. I'm not fighting over custody. In my petition, I've already stated that I want my husband to have equal custody, both legal and physical. Now this is a tough one because obviously this person has real strong bond with this child and they want to be a part of their lives, you know, and if they did separate, then I don't think they'd get any access to this child, right? Without the actual father saying, yes, you can see the child. I don't think they get automatic rights just because they've been there for X amount of time. But also by your own admission, you've gone down this route of like playing this hidden game and sneaking around it. And you know, the child will find out eventually. And is that going to come good that you've played this game to get access to the child? I just don't know. It's almost like an everyone sucks here, but I really don't know on this one. But C May says, not the arsehole, your ex is right. You played a long con and deceived him. But it was what was needed to guarantee the child kept you, a key parental figure in his life. You even had the birth mother's parents' approval. You made the correct moral choice. It did require deception, a morally objectionable thing, but in this case it was arguably necessary. As long as you offer the ex 50-50 joint custody, you are not the arsehole. Maintaining the status quo in a young child's life is important, and your bond with him is meaningful. Mr. Njord says, everyone sucks here. A good lawyer will blow this up in your face though. Distracted X says, I'm hesitant to call you an actual arsehole because I get why you did it. I raised a child for 8 years with my ex and considered her my daughter, and she called me mum. When we broke up, I almost never saw her again. It was devastating. I still have dreams about her years later. At the same time, not only are you using quotes for the words tricked, as though it wasn't what you literally did, but you say he claimed you played the long con and deceived him, implying you didn't. When that's exactly what you did. I mean, you went as far as to plan a fake vow renewal ceremony. Just own it. I also think it was a huge mistake in your plan to file for a divorce the next day after the adoption was finalised. If you were going to do this, you should have made the long con a bit longer. I feel like if he has a good lawyer and wants to take you to court, there's a chance he could win and you would lose custody. Because you really did very obviously trick him. You could have at least made it seem like you didn't for appearances. And Dripping Yellow Madness says, everyone sucks here. Speaking as a teacher, I can promise you that by the time Jay is 12, he's going to figure out exactly what happened, and he's going to resent you for using him like the MacGuffin in a spy movie. What's a MacGuffin? What is that? Did they mean a MacGuffin, or I don't know. And Mr. Mrs. says, not the arsehole. Whew, this is a tough one. I'm going with not the arsehole because it seems like, from the comments, the ex-husband had the intentions of leaving the OP and taking the son to another country. The OP did not have the benefit of biological rights to her son, so she did what she needed to gain rights. Is that an arsehole thing to do? Maybe, maybe not. I'd call it smart that she knew her ex and she knew the system and used it to her benefit. What's the alternative? Potentially losing her son? No way. I would not take those odds. Now I'm going to turn it to you guys. What would you do in this situation? Put yourself in OP's shoes, you know, and there's two options. You could either lose this child that you've been raising for X amount of time, or tricking your husband. How would you go about it? And do you think it's the correct thing to do? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my mum I wouldn't really be part of my disabled sister's life? Earlier today, my mum and I, 17 female, were talking about family and how they're somewhat responsible for each other. And then she brought up the fact that my brother, 7, and I will have 50-50 responsibility of my disabled sister. 4, has cerebral palsy, and we don't know if she will walk or speak, when they're too old to take care of her. She even said that my sister will probably have to live with one of us. I told her I disagree with that and I don't think it's fair, and she answered by saying that it's not fair to anyone. My relationship with my sister is very close to none. I live with my parents, I'm still in high school, and only really spend time with her when they are too busy because she has to have someone with her 24/7, or else she can fall and break something. In a few years I'm going to college probably outside of the country and will be even less contact with my sister. My dad also shames me by saying that my sister won't have anyone and won't be able to do anything by herself, and that I need to do well in school for her. I find that ridiculous. I'm studying for myself to reach my goals. I can't even tell him that because he's extremely stubborn and never changes opinion about anything. Edit some info. I haven't told my parents and I don't plan to right now. My sister has a trust fund given by the government, which they occasionally take money out of when they can't afford to pay the bills, because COVID really fucked them. I completely agree with all that no one's an arsehole here, because I absolutely do not think my mum is an arsehole, and I know she only wants the best for us. I'm open to helping my sister, but to a point. I wouldn't let her live with me, as I think she'd be better off having her own space with her own caregiver rather than living with her sister and not having her space at all. My parents did not choose to have a disabled daughter. She was born prematurely at 23 weeks. And we'll start off with some P saying, not the arsehole, your parents should probably set up a fund for her so that she'll be taken care of when the situation arises. You and your siblings can be the one who are more in a supervisor situation to check up on her once in a while to make things smoother. And Every Name Is Taken says, no one's an arsehole here. They love her and they are terrified. My children are disabled and I'm scared every day what will happen to them when we are no longer here. When you know your child will actually die if left to fend for themselves, it feels, well, I actually cannot describe to you the depth of fear. As parents, it's our job to put things in place for when we're no longer around. A trust fund, some investments, plans with a local authority, even moving them to a group home early enough so you can feel they will be safe when you're dead. Telling you it must be you isn't the right move, although I understand their desperation. I suggest you sit down with them and discuss their long-term care needs. You don't have to personally provide the care to ensure care is provided. If your parents have assets, then they should consider leaving them to your sister alone to fund care. After all, you and your brother can make your own way, but your sister can't. And How to Fix Our Democracy says, not the arsehole, it's your life. This is the reason I will try to never have a disabled child. Not because I'm not willing to take care and love one, but because I don't want to put that responsibility on someone else. Your parents are responsible for their child. It'd be good of you to help, but no, you don't have to devote your life to someone else. They should make a plan that doesn't rely on your kindness. Edit. Obviously some disabilities cannot be tested for and avoided, but I will definitely do everything possible to avoid it. If that fails, then I will set up a support system for my child when I am gone, and not rely on unwilling relatives and children. Edit. I'm not pointing a finger at this particular instance, this is just my general statement towards parents thinking that their children will be okay with taking care of their disabled children. And All Hail Sundin says, you're the arsehole, you talk terribly about your disabled sister who can't help the way she was born, and your username/edit are disgusting. You seem like an awful person. I have a disabled sibling and won't be able to care for them after my dad dies, but I do help them and don't talk about them like that. I spend time with them. Now let's just raise the actual username point here, because her username is literal and then the R slur word. So you can see why people are getting on to her about the username. It is absolutely disgusting username. Paired up with this post is absolutely awful. And I was trying to avoid to bring it into this conversation because I still think like the post itself is an interesting topic and I didn't want to get too much caught around that actual username, but you know, it's out there now. So. But now I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and how would you deal with it if you was like 17-year-old and you was being told like in your future you're going to have to look after your disabled sibling because they ain't going to be able to care for themselves? How would you feel about that? Let me know in the comments below. Now once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe and that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra spicy, you can support the channel either through YouTube membership with the join button down below, or head on over to Patreon and join there. Either one is hugely appreciated. It keeps me going, and you know, with going part-time in sort of January time, you know, it's a big relief. But once again, thank you for taking the time out of your days to be here. It really does mean the world to me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.